Hi, this is Jenna Scott, and I'm going to be reading the, I guess you could say, chapter. They're very short, but section on in Weiss's Concise Trustee Handbook, and this section is called Banking. And I have been reading up until now about 4 videos before this one, and I've decided for this one that I'm going to be reading just section by section. So they're pretty short. Let's see, banking is about, like, what is that? 2 pages, maybe 2-ish pages. And then I'm going to go to the next one. So they might be fairly shorter than they have been as we go into the second half of this book. So let's get started. Banking. The trustee may open any business checking account, financial account, trust account, etc., which he is authorized by declaration to open, but he must keep in mind that by doing so, the trust will be participating directly in that unincorporated interstate banking association with all its limited liability consequences described above. There's only one type of account that avoids those consequences: the non-interest-bearing checking account. When utilized in conjunction with the following banking practices, the trust and the trustee will remain out of the tentacles of public policy. Unless the trustee intends to play within the system, the trustee should, bullet point 1, never contract for any credit cards, and if the trust has already obtained them, rescind and cancel the contracts. Bullet point 2, open a non-interest-bearing checking account in order to avoid the, quote, privileges and immunities, end quote, associated with interest. Footnote 148. Bullet point 3, maintain the minimum required balance at all times if possible, and unless specific transactions demand otherwise. Bullet point 4, when transacting business, use that bank account solely for depositing the checks and keeping track of trust funds. Bullet point 5, never send or allow trust checks to be sent across state lines. Bullet point 6, instead of writing checks, use postal money orders or the bank's corporate certified checks or corporate money orders when sending interstate payments. And bullet point, where are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Bullet point 7, use a bonded or non-bonded agent to establish the account on behalf of the trustee. When opening the bank account, non-interest bearing as well as any other, the following must be provided. 1, the original notarized letter of authorization or letter of introduction or a limited power of attorney if being opened by an authorized representative. Footnote 149. 2, a copy of the certificate of trust. 3, a copy of the trustee appointment. 4, a copy of the settler's acknowledgement of trust or letter of introduction, introducing the trustee. There are usually 2 introduction or acknowledgement documents per trustee, one regarding his fiduciary powers specifically addressed to banking institutions, and one regarding his general power to establish all other accounts. And then 5, a copy of the first and signature pages of the Declaration of Trust. And then there's an asterisk by this one. It says, note, the bank will almost always require evidence of a trust agreement, but the other documents may be sufficient depending on who you are dealing with. If you can open the account without providing these documents or with providing only a few of the documents, great. Again, this is a non-interest bearing checking account, so scrutiny is not a priority. Accounts such as this have been downplayed by banks via advertised interest rates, so most people would rather open accounts that appear to have the prospect of interest and earnings. And number 6, only if necessary to obtain an EIN, a copy of the filed IRS Form SS4. Take into account the state of ignorance of the law which prevails in America today. Give only the information needed to open the account, but do not arouse suspicion or fear from lack of understanding on the part of bank employees. If you are able to befriend someone in the institution who can establish the account more flexibly, then do it. You must be shrewd in your methods for establishing the account since, regardless of which bank you choose, you will be dealing with trained employees who usually are just a few screws and bolts away from being robots. You should consult the business tactics of successful negotiators who will attest that the individual who needs the service is at the mercy of the provider, but the individual whose confidence and attitude subtly convey that his business is in high demand is given services, gifts, perks, not to mention any kind of account, just to get his business. It is not my intention to state the obvious, for in all business dealings, which a bank account is, one must be persuasive to get the desired results. And don't be hesitant to shop around, negotiate, bend perception, create competition. In the event it becomes unavoidably necessary to the opening of a non-interest-bearing account, or if the trustee does see fit to obtain an interest-bearing or other financial account, then he or an agent must apply to the IRS for an employer identification number, EIN, for banking purposes. This may be done in one of the following ways. First, you could instantly do it via the telephone between the hours of 7 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time by calling the Foreign Business Tax Line at 215-516-6999. Side note, annotation, I am just reading this text to you. However, this book is from 2008. I do not believe that you can get an EIN through the Foreign Business Tax Line at the IRS unless you have a foreign address. So tip there, this might be a little bit out, that bullet point might be a little bit out of date, but go ahead and try what you can do and see what you can do. Everyone has different abilities. Instantly online by going to irs.gov businesses, irs.gov/businesses/small/article/0, ID equals 98350, 00.html. That looks old to me as well. So you could just look up get an EIN in Google and probably find it. And then once you get there, you're going to click apply online. Then you're going to click apply online now. And you're going to fill out the online form SS4 application for employer identification number and proceeding through the prompts. Be sure to print all the pages for the trust records, so that's an important point. Again, I hate to stop the flow of the reading. However, if you're listening to this and wanting to apply the knowledge, what they're saying is as you progress through the screens of the EIN application online, and it's hard to remember, so I'm making a point of this, print every single page or save it to PDF or screenshot it. Okay, moving along. By performing the same steps above, but after clicking apply online, click how to apply for an EIN, then form SS4, and fill it out, print it, and then either send it in via mail or carrier to the proper regional office, or else the one designated for entities with no legal residence, principal place of business, or principal office or agency in any state. You're going to send it attention EIN operation to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19255, or you can fax it into fax tin at 215-516-1040. The form should be filled out according to the specifications of the trust. I have provided an example of how it has been filled out without a problem. It should be noted that due to recent changes in the online application, you may find it more advantageous to apply via any method other than online, e.g. via fax. The new changes make it contractually impossible to apply for an EIN strictly for the purpose of opening a bank account. In fact, with the new online form, the applicant is forced to misrepresent the nature of the trust as non-statutory, which automatically imports the provisions of the Internal Revenue Code applicable to federal taxable entities. With both telephone and online applications, the trust will immediately be given a temporary EIN until the hard copy application, which will be sent to the trust address for completion and endorsement, has been returned to that office within 15 days of the original online application. The EIN is valid 24 hours from the moment the voice or electronic application is submitted, but if the hard copy application is not returned within 15 days, the temporary EIN will expire and cannot be used. In fact, it is not permanently registered into the Federal Tax ID database until the hard copy has been processed. With faxed applications, the trust will be given a temporary EIN by fax within 4 business days, which will become permanent once the hard copy is sent in via mail or carrier. And with mailed applications, the application is processed upon receipt and an EIN is issued via the mail within 2 weeks. The other EIN application offices based on region can be found at the IRS internet address given above by clicking Where to File in the side menu located in the left margin of the web page. And that brings to conclusion the banking section of Weiss's Concise Trustee Handbook. This is Jenna Scott, your host / reader, and I will be coming back in the next video to read the Transferring Assets section. Thanks so much for your attention and your time, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.